You've probably said it yourself. I'm fine. You said it when your chest was caving in, when your hands were shaking from the weight of everything you weren't saying, when your body was screaming, but your voice stayed quiet, polite, palatable. You said it like a reflex, like a shield, like a spell that might somehow make it true. And no one questioned it, because you're the one who always holds it together, the one who checks in on others, the one who doesn't do drama. So they smiled and moved on, and you swallowed the pain like it was something you deserved to carry alone. There's a certain kind of person who doesn't just hide their suffering, they erase it. They minimize it. They compare it to someone worse off and decide, silently, that their pain doesn't count. They are the masters of emotional shrinking, of pain politeness, of trauma tone down. They've turned suffering into a quiet internal art form, where the brushstrokes are invisible and the canvas is their own nervous system. You know them. Maybe you are them, the one who says it's not that bad when it is, the one who apologizes for crying, the one who feels guilty for needing help. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that your pain was inconvenient, that your wounds were ugly, that your story, unless it was tragic enough, didn't deserve space. This isn't just modesty. This isn't humility. This is psychological self-erasure. It's what happens when a child learns that being hurt doesn't get them comfort. It gets them silence or shame or scolded for being too sensitive. It's what happens when you're told, directly or not, that your job is to be okay. So you learn to perform okayness like it's a survival skill. You learn to say, "I'm just tired," when what you mean is, "I feel like I'm disappearing." You learn to say, "It's not a big deal," when what you mean is, "I don't know how to ask for help without feeling like a burden." You learn to say, "Others have it worse," when what you mean is, "I don't believe I deserve care." This is called minimization, a defense mechanism where the brain downplays emotional pain to avoid overwhelm. But that word doesn't capture the ache of it. It doesn't capture the way your body keeps score even when your mouth stays shut. It doesn't capture how lonely it is to be in pain and pretend you're not. Because when you downplay your suffering, you don't just hide it from others. You lose access to it yourself. You stop knowing what you feel. You stop trusting what you need. You stop believing that your pain is real enough to matter. And that's the quiet tragedy. You become a stranger to your own wounds. You gaslight yourself before anyone else can. There's a special kind of exhaustion that comes from carrying pain you won't admit you have. It's like walking on a broken leg and telling yourself, "It's just a bruise. Keep going. Don't limp. People will stare." So you keep walking, and the bone keeps cracking, and you keep calling it nothing. This is how people break without anyone noticing. This is how suicidal thoughts can sneak into the mind of someone who smiles every day. This is how you can drown in plain sight and have people say, "I had no idea they were struggling," because you never gave them the chance to know. You never gave yourself the chance to know. Let's go deeper. Why do some people ritually invalidate their own pain? It starts young, always. Maybe you grew up in a house where emotions were explosions, and the only way to stay safe was to not have any. Maybe you were the easy child, the one who didn't cry, didn't complain, didn't need, and you learned that love
was conditional on your quietness. Maybe you were parentified, the one who soothed the adults, who mediated the fights, who carried the emotional weight of the family. And you learned that your role was to hold, not to be held. Or maybe your pain was compared. You think that's bad when I was your age. And so you learned that suffering is a competition and you never win. So you stopped entering the race. You stopped naming your pain. You stopped claiming it. And now, even as an adult, you feel shame for struggling. You feel weak for needing. You feel selfish for wanting more. This is internalized invalidation, a voice that tells you you're being dramatic. You should be over this by now. You don't have it that bad. This sounds like your voice, but it's not. It's the echo of every person who ever made you feel too much. And now it plays on loop, a psychological autoimmune disease where your mind attacks its own pain. But here's what you need to know. Pain is not a contest. You don't have to earn the right to feel it. You don't have to justify it with a trauma scorecard. You don't have to wait until you're broken enough to ask for help. Because the truth is, you're already hurting. And that is enough. You don't need to prove your pain to be worthy of care. You don't need to bleed visibly to be taken seriously. You don't need to collapse to be allowed to rest. There's a moment, quiet, sacred, terrifying, when you finally tell the truth. When you say, actually, I'm not okay. I think I've been hurting for a long time. I don't know how to stop minimizing it. And something shifts, not because the pain disappears, but because you finally see it, you finally name it, you finally believe it. That's the beginning of healing, not the end.
And let's be honest, it's hard to stop downplaying your pain. It feels dangerous, like you're betraying the version of you that survived by staying quiet. But that version, the one who smiled through tears, who said, I'm fine when they weren't, they did their job. They kept you alive. But you don't have to be them anymore. You can thank them and then let them rest. You're allowed to say, this hurts. I need help. I don't know what I feel, but I know it's heavy. You're allowed to take up space with your suffering. You're allowed to ask for witness. You're allowed to matter even when your pain doesn't look like anyone else's. And maybe that's the most radical thing you can do. Stop comparing your wounds. Stop ranking your breakdowns. Stop waiting for permission to feel. Instead, listen to the ache. Speak the truth. Let yourself be seen, because the world doesn't need you to pretend you're okay. The world needs you to be real, to be human, to be here, fully, honestly, unapologetically. And maybe, just maybe, the moment you stop downplaying your pain is the moment you finally start healing it.